Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 1st December 2020. In this video, we'll be talking about the Organization for Islamic Countries and their contentious issues with respect to Kashmir. And the second video is about the perils of deregulated imperfect agricultural markets, the reason behind the farmer protest. OIC actually stands for Organization of Islamic Cooperation. They're simply but an organization of Islamic countries. Previously, it was called Organization of Islamic Conference. So, this is nothing but an international organization which was founded way back in 1969 itself. So, it consists of 57 members. So, these countries represent not just Asia and Africa, but also they have members from South America as well. So, please note this important point for prelims. Given the fact that it has 57 members, it constitutes the most influential group where it has a permanent delegation to the UN and also to the European Union. Its official languages include English, French, as well as Arabic. So, with respect to its treatment towards India, let us discuss what is its stance. We know the fact that Islam is the second largest religion in India after Hinduism, which constitutes roughly 15% of the population. However, we also know that India's relationship with Pakistan has always been a bone of contention and has direct impact on how the OIC looks at India. OIC is definitely a important partner with respect to international relations, but Pakistan being a founding member of the OIC, it has negatively impacted our relationship with the organization. So India has pushed for OIC to accept itself as a member, and it also argued that nearly 11% of the uh, world's Muslims live in India, but Pakistan opposed India's entry into the OIC. So, what was the reason cited by Pakistan to block India? Pakistan often cites the human rights issues of Kashmiris as a reason to block India into taking a membership with this organization. So, the entire Muslim world has been actually supporting Pakistan rather than India in case of any differences between the two countries. However, the role of OIC concerning the Kashmir issue is that India has the largest Muslim minority and the people have shown the desire to join the OIC. While the first Islamic summit, which was held way back in 1969 at Rabat, this did not have the issue of Kashmir people at all. So it granted the 60 million Muslims living in India membership in the OIC, and it was actually discussed whether India should be a part of the organization or not. There was almost a consensus that India can be a part of this organization. However, suddenly Pakistan expressed its concerns that India has sent a non Muslim representative as the head of the delegation in that particular year. So, in that particular year, the Indian ambassador was the head of the Indian delegation to this Rabat summit. So, a person called Yahya Khan, who happens to be the general of Pakistan, said that this is unacceptable and threatened to boycott the meeting. So, with no other option left, the entire organization has voted in favor of Pakistan. Even till date, OIC maintains that Kashmir should be resolved as soon as possible. But if you take the look at India's stance, India maintains its stance that Kashmir is an internal issue. So the reason behind studying about this is in our preliminary exam, all these details become very important. You have to note that the members constitute countries from South America also. It has a permanent delegation to the UN and EU. the official languages, the year in which it was established, the place of the first Islamic conference, the person who opposed this membership, and the reason. So these are the points that you have to know. The second article for the day regarding the farmers' protests that are happening in the national capital right now is with respect to the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Act. So, yesterday we have seen the problem of the FPTC Act. So, this further elaborates the problems associated with this FPTC Act. What is the purpose of FPTC Act? Simply put, the government says that it will create a free market and ensures that the APMC Mandi regime, which has been responsible for low price discovery, will be removed, and it will allow the corporates to take up a stance in the business which will increase the possibility of price discovery for farmers. So, the basic contention here is the middleman will be removed, but farmers tend to disagree with this proposition. Why? They do not trust the corporates because they feel that they will be exploited. The basic premise of the FPTC Act is that since mandis have not been effective in price discovery, we have to increase the participation of corporates. But the author of this article brings out data to show why we need more mandis rather than less mandis or deregulation. If you take a look at the procurement, nearly 49 to 50% of the procurement happens outside the mandis itself. The major reason is because these mandis are not accessible to most of the farmers according to the data. Now, the National Commission on Agriculture recommended that for every 80 square kilometers there should be one mandi so that it is reachable by the farmer. But what happened is we don't have enough mandis. So the average distance that a farmer should travel to reach a mandi is 463 kilometers square. So this is not acceptable. Therefore, the basic premise of this act itself is wrong. Now, it is a very genuine concern that the farmers have in respect to the corporates, because there is every possibility that corporates might actually take advantage of the situation of farmers. So, in that case, increasing the number of mandis will be actually very helpful. Instead of creating more mandis, the government is trying to deregulate and exit the entire area, giving a free hand for corporates. The second premise that we have to consider here is the fact that the government believes that if we deregulate, private investment would come in. But the problem is we have private investments at a abysmal level in states that have already deregulated. We have to remember that agricultural marketing, or in general agriculture within the state, is a prerogative of the state government. So many state governments have actually tried and tested these route as well, but that did not happen. Now one might have a question: why can't the corporates actually invest money and instead of directly buying from the sellers, make a contract with the farmer? The simple reason is high transactional cost. So they have to spend a lot of amount to buy the produce, store it in their storage facilities, and then sell it in the market. Rather, they would prefer to have a middleman who will do this entire business. So the contention here is that the government must actually increase the number of mandis but not reduce them. The next one is with respect to MSPs. Whenever we are talking about MSP, there is a belief that it is a legal right, when the fact is it is not a legal right. So MSP is generally a policy measure taken up by respective governments to ensure that farmers have a minimum price discovery. Now, in the absence of MSP, it would be very difficult if the produce is completely left to the corporates. So the farmers fear that the corporates might exploit them naturally. the government did come forward and assure them that there will be a minimum support price. Now, saying that we have to make MSP a legal right will be a bit far fetched, because it will incur a lot of amount on the state's exchequer. Rather, we have to ensure that the deregulation of markets should happen in a proper way. Now, what do you mean by this proper way? This deregulation should ultimately achieve the objective of price discovery by private participation. For that, we have to give incentives for private sector players to reduce this high cost. At the same time, ensure proper regulation that the farmer is not exploited. So that is the gist of this article.